welcome back, guys. Got another one here from Valuetainment. It's not fair. Millennials complaining about the American dream is dead. Let's get into it.
Majority of people now say it's impossible to achieve the American dream. Again, the headline, how do you feel right now? I agree. If you said, I agree, you just gave up and they win, right? Listen, majority believe American dream is unattainable. A Newsweek poll reveals that 54% of Americans think it's increasingly difficult to achieve middle-class status. Among millennials, 57 find the middle class unachievable, followed by 59% of Gen Xers, 48% of Gen Zs, and 51% of baby boomers. This perception is reinforced by who? Not an expert, by a TikTok user. Like Inc., who said, I cannot afford to live anywhere alone despite earning 3 times the federal minimum wage. Changing economic realities, the middle class in the U.S. have been shrinking, with Pew Research noticing a decline from 61% of households in 1971 to 51% in 2023. And Vivian, a former Wall Street Street employee known as Your Rich BFF on TikTok, highlighted that the traditional American dream is outdated, stating, we cannot use the same playbook our parents gave us to live life today. The shift toward lower paying service jobs and automation has exacerbated this trend. Tom, your thoughts? I got a lot of thoughts on this, but I want to hear yours first.
So whenever I see American dream, I always say to people, what do you mean? What do you mean by that? You know, I feel like I'm in an episode of The Princess Bride. That word doesn't mean what you think it means, you know, inconceivable.
Inconceivable.
Right. So when I say,
well, the American dream is basically what was instilled to me, what I had instilled into my kids, and will carry as my dream till the day I die, which is having your home, having your 2.5 kids, being married, all that good stuff, and a good job, middle class or hopefully upper middle class. Definitely not living in poverty, and being able to have some sort of financial freedom to be able to take your 2-week vacation every year and things like that. Not having to work to live, basically living to work. So let's kind of see what these guys say here before I start putting in some of my input.
Say American dream, I said, what do you mean? What does that mean to you? What are you trying to achieve? Because if you automatically paint a wall in front of yourself and say, well, that's the American dream, I can never get over the wall, that's a negative thinking. So the question is, what does that mean for you? What do you mean American dream? What did you just talk about? Positive forward planning and optimism, you and Pat. Yep. You know what? I want to look forward and see maybe I find a 3-bedroom place to put myself in a preparation zone for being married and having a kid. That is a positive forward thought. But in the American dream, well, I can't do the American dream. Maybe it's, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do what my parents did, have 2 kids before they were 30 years old, me being one of them, right? Mm-hmm. And bought a house in the suburbs. Well, maybe you're not going to be able to do that. Why? The suburbs are different. The cities are different. They're being rebuilt. Housing is in a different place. So when I hear this, I say, what do you mean, what is the American dream? It's the American dream for you. So how do you improve yourself? How do you optimistically prepare forward? And yes, there are things like inflation that if you sit there like a frog boiled in the pot, you look around and go, oh my gosh, you know, I can't afford this. That's very true. And you should proactively evaluate the leaders you vote for and vote for the people you think are going to make it better. Meanwhile, back to you, where do you go? So when I look at the American dream, it's what are people defining as the American dream? If it's living like your great-grandparents did, coming home from World War II, doing this, this, and this, or living like your parents did in the 70s, live in the suburbs and do this, this, and this. No, it's going to be different. It's a different generation. It's a different time in America. So I think you have to positively set up what is your own dream and what is your vision for your career and how to find side hustles and do things that put yourself in a better position. That's what I think about it. And the American dream, I think a lot of times is an election year ploy to get people to think negative. Oh, you'll never be able to do what my grandparents did.
Yep.
Very well put.
Tom, I'm sorry, Adam. I have so much thoughts on this.
Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts on this. Well, I'll tell you, the old American dream is dead, straight up. But when one door closes, another door opens. The new American dream is as alive and as vibrant as ever. No. It just depends on what your definition of the American dream is. Back in the day, in the 80s, there used to be a phrase, and tell me if you're familiar with this, Tom, you probably remember this, he who dies with the most toys wins. Remember that? Where
it was a pop culture T-shirt. It was, it was a consumption mindset. It was a,
bingo, consumption mindset. You needed
conspicuous
the house,
consumption, so people see what you've got.
Exactly. So you needed to have the house, you needed to have the cars, you needed the picket fence, you needed the 2.2 kids, you needed to have the dog, everything needed. You worked at the same company for 40 years, there was no turnover. Everything was the quote unquote American dream. Well, that's changed. Especially for young people, the cost of living, the math don't math anymore. So everyone has the same big three expenses. I've said this before: housing, transportation, and food and beverage. If you just do what everyone has always done and just have your house, have your mortgage, have your car, have your car payment, go out, eat once a week, buy lunch, food and beverage, the math doesn't add up. You will be broke. So you have to do something differently. The whole name of these games today is having financial freedom. That's all it is. Whether you want to move, whether you want to work remote, whether you want to take a job elsewhere, whether you want to get married, whether you want to have kids, that's up to you. And then that's the money side of things.
But you see, the American dream, the original 2.5 kids, house, and all of that included financial freedom. You had a good, steady job that you were getting a raise every year and always stayed ahead of the curve. And you can go out and eat once a week, do your vacation, stuff like that. I mean, financial freedom was there, which is now no longer there because of the issues we're having in our country. I got some statistics I'll go over here in a minute.
The other component of things is, what's the dynamic of relationships these days? I feel like there's a lot of confusion out there with men and women. Is the future female? Do girls run the world, or does the patriarchy run the world? Which one is it? I feel like there's a lot of men out there that are confused, especially young men, as what their role is in society. Back in the day, men got value from their brawn and their muscles and being a provider and being a protector. Most men are working in an office right now. You're not protecting shit. You don't necessarily have to provide anything. A lot of women are saying, I don't need no man. I got my own bag. Okay, good luck with that. Let me know how the Chelsea Handler lifestyle works out for you. So men are confused. And then women are confused because they're like, well, should I get married and have kids? Should I work till I'm 40 and become a millionaire? How does this work? Like the whole Harrison Butker speech that he gave in front of that college was very apropos of where we're at these days. On the day these women are graduating, he's like, hey, listen, a little hot tip for you. The guys don't really care about your job. Go ahead and have some kids. People are having less kids in America.
Where are you going?
I'm saying American dream has changed, and you need to define what the American dream is to you. Don't let that define what you think it should be.
Okay. Do you have anything to say?
I just remember, you remember George Carlin, what he said?
Yeah.
He said about the American dream, he said the reason they call it the American dream is because you have to be asleep to believe it.
Yeah. And by the
Very
way,
true.
and I've listened to all of those jokes, and I've listened to all of these, shots that I can't do this and poor me and all this other stuff. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of my kids, when kids talk like that. Adults shouldn't talk like that. My kids talk like that. You know what the sentence starts off with? What's the 2 words? What's the 3 words? Give me the 3 words.
Why can't I?
No, it's the 3 words that kids use. It's not fair. It's not fair. A grown man shouldn't use those words. Because what you're doing is you're giving the other person power. What you're indirectly saying is, I'm helpless. You're not. So for me, a part of this is, I'll give you the true side, that this is factual, but it's mathematical that it's true. And then the other side is that you're choosing to accept it. One of the biggest fights I ever had with my dad is, he'll remember this.
Okay. I had already watched this here. So most of this stuff that wanted to cover was here at the beginning. So let's kind of go over some of the stuff here that I've got. I had to write it all down because it was a lot of information. I don't know if anybody's ever seen the TV show. I think it was on HBO, Newsroom. It had Jeff Daniels in it. Pretty good show when I had watched it. It was back in June 2012, if I remember right. There was a clip where the 3 reporters were in a university, and a girl asked the reporters to say why America is the greatest country in the world. If you haven't seen the clip, I'll link it down below in the description. So the first person says diversity and opportunity. The second person says freedom, and everybody starts cheering. We get to Jeff Daniels, and his first reply was the New York Jets. Basically trying to avoid the question, but he was held to answering the question, and his reply was quite powerful. So I went back and I pulled the transcript because there's some facts that he gives in here. I don't know exactly how accurate they were for the time, but based on the research I've done, I'm willing to bet they were fairly accurate. I'm not going to go through the whole whole little thing on it, what he said, but he turns to the guy, talks about freedom. He goes, and with a straight face, you're going to tell students America is so star-spangled awesome that we're the only ones in the world who have freedom. He's like, Canada has freedom, Japan has freedom, the UK, France, Italy, Germany, Spain, Austria, Belgium has freedom. 207 sovereign states in the world, and like 180 of them have freedom. And then he looks over to the girl that asked a question and kind of starts up on her. He goes on with saying that there's absolutely no evidence to support the statement that we're the greatest country in the world. We're 7th in literacy, 27th in math, 22nd in science, 49th in life expectancy, 178th in infant mortality, 3rd in median household income, number 4 in labor force, and number 4 in exports. We lead the country in only 3 categories: number of incarcerated citizens per capita, number of adults who believe angels are real, and defense spending, where we spend more than the next 26 countries combined, 25 of whom are allies. First time I heard it, I was like, damn. And then he kind of goes on about we sure used to be the greatest country in the world. We stood up for what was right. We fought for moral reasons. We passed and struck down laws for moral reasons. We waged war on poverty, not poor people. And we sacrificed. We cared about our neighbor. We put our money where our mouths were, and we never beat our chest. We built great things, made ungodly technological advances, explored the universe, cured diseases, and cultivated the world's greatest artistic and the world's greatest economy. Not artistic, sorry, the world's greatest artists and the world's greatest economy. We reached for the stars. We acted like men. We aspired to intelligence. We didn't belittle it. It didn't make us feel inferior. We didn't identify ourselves by who we voted for in the last election, and we didn't scare so easily. And we were able to be all these things and do all these things because we were informed. So to give you that, I wound up going back and pulling the stats. So based on that, like I said, if you've never seen it, the link will be down below. If you have seen it, just go back and watch it again. It's a good reminder. So I wound up pulling all the data from datapanda.org. I kind of validated data I was finding there to searching all over the internet, and they were really close. So I stuck with datapanda.org. Give it a look, and you'll be amazed with the information that's on there and what you'll find out. So for fastest growing economy, we are 138th in economy. The national debt, we are 14th. As a high-income country, we're number 6 with the median listed at $74,520. Richest countries, we're 11th. The standard of living or best quality of life, we're 21. Exports based on value, we're number 2. China is number 1. Now here's where things start getting a little more interesting. I wound up digging a little further. Healthcare, we're 18. Depression, we are number 2. Ukraine is number 1, but go figure based on the circumstances that's going on in their country. Infant mortality rate, 145th. Military in size, we are number 3. Military spending, we are number 1. $750 billion a year we are spending. China is number 2 at $237 billion. Gun deaths, we are number 2. I think Brazil was number 1. I forgot to write that down. Incarceration rate, we are number 1. 629 people per 100,000 per capita. So I dug a little further. I was curious as to what's there, especially for America, for the American dream. Let's go by the average rent by state. The overall average rent in the United States is $1,677. Hawaii is of the highest for average rent of $2,036. Massachusetts follows at number 2 at $1,770, followed with California as being number 3 of $1,677, which is also based on the average. I would say in the area I live in, I don't live in a huge city. Rent is still higher than that. Now, another thing that I wound up looking at, because he talked about with freedom, freedom, they also had the Freedom Index, and they described the Freedom Index based on these factors here. In a world where individual rights, civil liberties, and democratic ideals are increasingly championed, understanding the degree of freedom each country offers its citizens is a paramount importance. The Human Freedom Index offers a comprehensive annual ranking of countries based on various aspects, including rule of law, security and safety, economic freedoms, and individual freedoms such as the freedoms of expression, religion, and association. Each year, countries are given a score between 0 and 10, with higher scores indicating a higher level of freedom. U.S. had ranked 15 at 8.7. The top three, Switzerland number 1 with a score of 9.11, New Zealand number 2 at 9.01, Denmark is number 3 at a score of 8.98. We are definitely no longer the greatest country in the world. And if I could find those numbers back in the 50s, 60s, even in the 40s, that would be cool. If anybody has links to that or data for that, drop them in the comments below, because I'd be interested in seeing that and comparing then to now. But guys, I mean, really, it comes down to, I'm not going to play the rest of the video here, because it's basically the same thing. He's going to go on about it's not fair, quit your complaining, and do something about it. And I will agree with that. You know, it is time to stop fooling ourselves and wake up. We have mega corporations who are funding our politicians and helping put them into office to serve their interests and not the people's. I mean, we have no one to blame but ourselves. We put these people in office because of the way they made us feel with their false promises. Look at where we're at. I mean, how well has our lives improved? How well has your life improved? I mean, how well has my life improved? I mean, I'm doing okay. Can it be better? Absolutely. Do I consider myself living the American dream? There's some aspects, yes, but most aspects, no. This isn't a left or right thing. You just need to follow the damn money. Look at the statistics and do your research. It's about what is right and wrong. You know, and I know it's a pain in the ass to do your research on topics, especially when it comes to elections, as we're going into the election season right now. But if you dig, and I mean really dig, do your homework and vote based on your research, you're ahead of the game. If you don't do that, and you're just voting based on feelings, and you're part of the problem and have no reason to bitch about the state of everything that's in, so you reap what you sow. Now, do I see things getting better? Not anytime soon. I think it will get much worse before it gets better. You know, the middle class is gone. So what do? You start working on your skills that you can do, like remote work. Start getting online side hustles going. Get your little blue book and bounce. You know, gain a financial freedom that you're looking for and enrich your life. The American dream, as we know it, as what our parents have taught us, our grandparents have taught us, is dead. And this is coming from a Gen Xer. Okay, guys. I don't know how many people have seen the movie Rocky Balboa, but there was a speech in there that he gave his son that has stuck with me, and I about have it memorized. I hope I hit it verbatim. I'll find the video clip and I'll drop it down below, a link to it. How did he put it? It was, the world isn't all sunshine and rainbows. It's a very mean and nasty place, and I don't care how tough you are at it, it will beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it. You, me, and nobody's going to hit as hard as life, but it ain't about how hard you're hit. It's about how hard can you get hit and keep moving forward. How much can you take and keep moving forward? That's how winning is done. Now, if you know what your worth is, and you go out and get what you're worth, but you got to be willing to take the hits, not pointing fingers and saying you're not where you want to be because of him, her, anybody, you know, whatever the excuse may be. Cowards do that, and you ain't that. You're better than that, and I'm always going to love you no matter what. No matter what happens, you're my son, you're my blood. You're the best thing in my life. Until you start believing in yourself, you're not going to have a life. It's, like I said, I had it memorized for the longest time, but it's been a while since I've quoted it. So that's pretty much a gist of it. But I'm going to continue to preach this, guys. Eat healthy, get into gym, never stop learning, work on your finances, get your passport, move somewhere where the women are going to appreciate you, who value the nuclear family, move somewhere where you can enrich your life, work smarter, not harder. Basically, live to work, not work to live. But I'll drop the 2 links down below. Check it out for yourself if you haven't seen them yet, or if you have and just need a little inspiration. But anyways, guys, I'm going to call it here. If you like what you've seen today, hit that like button, share, subscribe. Put some comments down below, your thoughts on the matter, and I will see you on the next one. Peace.